Ciao a tutti, my name is Karen. I am from Italy, even though I know I don't have an Italian name. But I was born and raised in Rome and came to the US about 10 years ago in search of opportunities. Just a quick disclaimer, I am a travel designer. I founded a company called Life Beyond the Room, but more on that to come later. So, if you're anything like me and you like to plan a vacation yourself, you probably know that sometimes it's easy to become overwhelmed, especially when you're traveling to a country like Italy, where there's so many beautiful places to see, the culture to experience is so rich, and there's so much online information that you don't know what to do with. And if you're like most people, you may only have 10 days to 2 weeks to cram it all in. So I'm here today to give you 5 tips on how to plan the perfect vacation to Italy 100% stress-free. Okay, so tip number 1, choose off-peak season months. So it's probably pretty common knowledge, but July and August are absolutely best avoided. Prices are way higher, it's too hot, and there's too many crowds, and honestly the heat makes it so hard to enjoy anything anyways. And I can guarantee you that during months like July and August, if you go to places like Rome or the Amalfi Coast, you end up being surrounded by more Americans than you are Italian. June is okay if you like the heat, you like water activities. It does start to get pretty hot in June and it's still considered high season, so you will encounter some of those higher prices. Now, if you don't care about some potential rains, March, April, and May are great months to go. Although I remember back in 2017, I think we had the rainiest month, May, of all times. It rained pretty much the whole month, but we still managed to have a great time. Now, you probably want to stay away from the Easter week unless you're planning a specific Easter themed vacation. Then you probably want to try to avoid that week. Again, same reason, bigger crowds and higher prices. But my very favorite time of the year to go almost anywhere in Italy is absolutely the fall. Colors are beautiful, the temperatures are starting to cool down. The water is still plenty warm from the summer months in September and in the south even in October. So the fall is the most beautiful time to go. Places are starting to slow down. You'll find lower season pricing, so they're gonna be more accessible. We take a group every single year to Mount Etna because if you're lucky enough and you like wine, you may just catch the grape harvest, which can happen anytime between middle of September to middle of, or end of October, obviously depending on weather. But we plan this trip every year on a beautiful wine resort on Mount Etna, and the focus obviously is making wine. So we participate in winemaking activities on top of all the other adventures. We hike Mount Etna, which is the most active volcano in Europe, with snorkels in the Sicilian pristine waters. We cook food, we laugh. It's a great trip, and you can find more details on that in the caption or directly on our website at lifebeyondtheroom.com. It is a small group trip. It's a maximum group of 8, so it fills up fast. Let's move on to tip number 2. This is a hard one. Choose to see less and experience more. This is a tough one even with a lot of our travelers, and I get it. If it's your first time to Italy, you want to go to all these beautiful touristy sites. They are touristy for a reason. They're stunning. But there's more to that than just the Instagram-worthy picture. And a lot of the times, the consensus from travelers that have tried to cram in 5 locations in 10 days is that they're running around from place to place. They're so hot that they don't get to experience the culture, the food, the people, which are probably some of the main reasons why you chose Italy as a destination to begin with. We are the Mecca of La Dolce Vita, which I'm sure you've heard of, the sweet life, or maybe you haven't heard of this one, il dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing. I remember as a teenager sitting at a local coffee shop, which we called bar, with my friends, and we would spend hours just watching the passerbys, having conversation, building relationships. It was very natural. But in today's day and age, where information technology rules our lives, it's so easy to find so many people sitting at a coffee shop, being on their phone, posting that photo they took immediately, and they're not savoring anything. So you have to be very intentional about creating that environment for yourself. Italy is a country to be savored slowly. So take the time to savor the food, savor the culture, savor the people. That doesn't mean you have to sit around all day and do nothing, but take the time for a 3 hour meal. If you've done any food related trips, you've probably spent those many hours at an evening dinner table making friendships, building relationships. And what I'm even more sure of is that those moments were the best memories that you will cherish forever about that trip. And probably those relationships you built during those moments were the ones that carried on for life. So, again, tip number 2, choose to see less and experience more. Tip number 3, talk to a local, expert or not. Talk to somebody who is from Italy, who lives in Italy, or even somebody who lives here but has spent a significant amount of time in Italy. There is nothing better than recommendations from a real person who's experienced everything. Now, I'm not saying that online information, online research is bad, but I'm just saying that one, the first page of Google results are all Google ads. Two, unless you have the time and the brain capacity to research everything you need to know, not just the places and again those top 5 destinations, right? But understanding the distances between each place so you don't end up on a train for most of the day. Understanding the weather, the crowds, and how to avoid them, right? Finding the best local spots so when you go to a restaurant, you're not surrounded by a bunch of Americans. So talking to a person is the best thing you can do. It's most efficient. Now I've learned to just pick up the phone, talk to a friend, talk to a friend of a friend. And if they don't know everything about the destinations on your bucket list, perhaps they can point you in the right direction. You know, I wasn't an expert back then, and I'm certainly not an expert now in every single region in Italy, but I could surely tell you all the local restaurants my family and I went to eat, all the local places in Rome where we would hide, our friends and I would hide from the crowds. And there's a lot of those. It doesn't feel like it when you're in Rome, but there's plenty of restaurants even within the city centers, and we'll write an article on this later, where it's more Italians than it is tourists. Obviously, there's far and few in between, but you have to know where to go. Now, you may be thinking, Karen, okay, you've made your point, but what if I don't know any locals? What if I don't know any Italian? Well, that's why I'm here. I know there's plenty of forums out there, plenty of people that are willing to volunteer their passion and their expertise, and that's what we do. Life Beyond the Room was born out of a passion for talking. I have been teaching Italian for about 10 years now, and obviously my students would learn Italian because they wanted to go to Italy. And so I started giving travel recommendations, advice on where to go, what to eat, the best local spots. And eventually one of my students said, Karen, do you just want to plan an itinerary for me? And that's when I realized that I could make a career out of my passion. So we offer a complimentary consultations with no obligation, no commitment whatsoever, and we can answer all of your questions for free. And then you can decide if you want us to help you plan your trip or not. You may be thinking, but what if I don't want to use your services? I want to talk to you, but I don't want to use your services, and you've already set your mind on that. Well, we surely hope you will change your mind after talking to us, but at the same time, we respect the decision for people wanting to plan their own trip or simply having budget limitations or whatnot, right? But we're sure that even though this may not be the right time for you, you will spread the word because we're doing this out of a love and passion for our country. So, tip number 3, talk to a local. All right, and that brings us to tip number 4. Plan a year ahead. Plan a year ahead. The sooner you plan, the better the rates, the better the availability, the less stress you will face. Now, I know that for some people that's not practical, right? You may just not know when you're taking off work, but if you can, 6 months is great, a year is better. A lot of accommodations, especially if you're looking for that more boutique, local, family-owned business, they're the first ones to go. Most of the places we work with have 4 rooms, 5 rooms, some 10, right? but they're very small. They're very boutique. There's no Marriott or Hilton unless you have to go, and spend the night by the airport. And now online, sometimes you cannot book more than a year ahead. Sometimes you cannot book more than 8 months ahead, but we can. And people wrongly assume that if you hire us as an agency to book your accommodations, you get to pay more. Well, it's quite the opposite. As an IATA accredited agency, we actually get a commission from them. So sometimes if you're doing a whole itinerary with us, we pass that commission on to you, so we're able to secure for you a lower rate. But if not, then we just get a cut. You're able to reserve that accommodation way before it's even available online. So it's a win-win situation. So again, if you want that authentic experience, go off season and plan a year ahead if you can. All right, that brings us to our last and final tip, which is it's all about the fun. If it ain't fun, it ain't worth it. See, ain't. Learned English pretty well, right? You can probably tell by now that I live here in the South, but the point is, life, and especially traveling, is all about the fun. A trip without laughter is just a waste of time, energy, and money. But a trip full of laughter, enthusiasm, and love enriches your life forever. So just make sure that you keep it fun. Okay, so let's review our 5 tips really quick. Tip number 1, choose off-peak season months. Tip number 2, choose to see less and experience more. This one is important. Choose to see less and experience more. Tip number 3, talk to a local, whether or not they're an expert or talk to me. Schedule that complimentary consultation. Tip number 4, plan a year ahead. Simple as that. If you can, 6 months is good, a year is better. And tip number 5, make sure that it's fun. Keep it fun. I hope that this video and those tips can shed some light on some best practices to use when planning a trip, especially to Italy. We do offer more than just Italy. We have recently expanded to France, Costa Rica, Ireland, and Portugal are coming next, thanks to our faithful travelers who have traveled with us to Italy and now wants us to take them elsewhere. But let me show you really quick, and you can find this on our website. This is a beautiful catalog of our small group trips, including the one on Mount Etna that I was talking about, surrounded around the grape harvest. So again, these are just small group trips for people that, want to go in a small group. You can download this catalog directly on our website. We have a language camp next fall on Lake Como. As far as a Puglia retreat, which is Puglia is one of my favorite regions along with Sicily. So you can download this on our website, and obviously we don't do just small group trips. We do custom itineraries for solo travelers, families, individuals, you name it. So, grazie mille. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, and I'll see you next time. Alla prossima. Ciao.